This show is sponsored by Sevi, answering all your commercial real estate needs. Sevi is the first commercial real estate company committed to the 4 C's: commercial real estate, community, content, and culture. Go visit Sevi at Sevi, SEVI, properties.com. Again, SeviProperties.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you. We have David Stocks Jr. David is the president and CEO of Stocks General Contractors. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, the pleasure is all mine. Before we go into your personal and business story, I'd like the audience to get to know you and the business a little bit more. So just in case they haven't heard of Stocks General Contractors, what do you folks do there?
Yeah, thanks, Otto. So what we do is we do underground utility construction, from water lines, sewer, storm, and we do electrical communications, conduits, vaults, manholes, a little bit of earthwork. Basically, we get paid to play around in the dirt. So
Ah, just every childhood's dream, right?
that's it. Mama's proud now. She's like, you can go get dirty.
That's good. That's good. It never ends. So basically, if you're showering in your home or washing your hands, or maybe now in your office you have Verizon Fios, that's thanks to you.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. A lot of people don't understand the importance of what we do because we bring the water, the power, the different utilities into buildings and bases and things of that nature.
I love that. That's great. I can't wait to get into sort of the nitty and gritty, how this all came about and how it all started. But before that, are you originally from the DMV area here?
Yes, yep. So born in Alexandria, Virginia, lived in different places in the DMV area and other places as well, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit.
Okay, awesome. So you grew up in Alexandria.
Yeah, so I grew up in Alexandria. That's where I was born. Lived there for some time. We moved to Loudoun County, Virginia. Um, then I lived also in Manassas. Lived in Warrenton. So kind of been around the Northern Virginia area for the most part.
Sure. So growing up in Northern Virginia, if I can just take you back for a moment there, childhood, besides playing in the playground with dirt probably and construction trucks or the excavators, I don't know. What were you into growing up?
So for me, I am third generation construction,
Oh,
right? So
wow.
yeah. So I am a junior, and my dad um, did not do this same type of work. He did concrete, brick, block, decorative masonry, things of that nature, in the DMV area. And our family on my father's side has done concrete work for, I mean, I would say probably decades and decades. I mean, worked on projects like the National Harbor way before people even knew it was coming, and things of that nature. So that was there was a lot of time spent on small construction sites, playing in the dirt literally, and and playing in the concrete, right? And dropping wheelbarrows full of concrete that I'm supposed to be wheelbarrowing to a pad that we're pouring and flipping it over because it was too heavy for me.
Sure. Oh, that's great. So at a young age, you were on construction sites, whether helping or just observing or just there taking it all in.
That's correct. Yeah. Yep. So, and I would say the majority of it was residential. Because that's what my dad did is mostly residential and some light commercial. And yeah, there was a lot of time spent on construction sites. There's probably plenty of sidewalks and old pads that have my initials carved into them or my handprint or something.
That's good, leaving your mark at an early age.
That's right.
So your dad, David, I assume David Senior, right?
Yeah.
Did he have his own company or was he working for someone while all this?
So he's done both. I would say the majority of the time was him having his own company, um, and but he has worked for Calvert Masonry. He also worked for Hensel Phelps at one time. And I guess for him it was because things got kind of slow, and he would go work for another company that he knew of in the area.
So, I mean, growing up, I guess, seeing it firsthand as far as the business, the entrepreneurial, in the household with your dad in the construction business and then you helping out. Did you know right away that this is what you wanted to get into when you grew up? Or, sometimes I see people as like, I see it, I do not want to do that, or I see it, I need to go and do that.
So here's a funny story. So my dad, I grew up with my dad and my mom. My mom was an entrepreneur years before I was born. She worked for the government, Department of Interior, and but she created her own company doing um, um, like curtains and draperies and things like that, upholstery. And so I grew up in a home where I had two entrepreneurs. I mean, my
Wow.
mom staying up all night, redoing somebody's couch. When I would go to sneak in the kitchen and grab a cookie and some milk, right? She was up, so it was no sneaking. Like she would catch me, and then my dad, doing the construction side of things. I mean, just a lot. So yes, entrepreneurial spirit was huge with me because I started out mowing grass, in the neighborhood. I was one of
Hmm.
those kids who made some flyers and tried to mow grass in the area. But I will tell you this: for years, I said I do not want to do construction. It's too dirty. I don't want to do that stuff. Like I want to get an office job and just work in an office. But here we are.
Yeah, yeah. I see that, especially, when young children maybe see the beginnings, with a business. It's, just like everything, it takes time and there might be some struggles along the way. And then it might be a burden sometimes in the household, not all the times, of course. And then they see it and they're like, gosh, maybe I do just want to go a regular corporate W-2 job and not have to worry about when the next dollar's coming in, right?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a lot of that type of mind frame with me because I saw the stress and everything that having both of them having their businesses put them under, and I was like, man, you guys don't sleep. Do you eat? Do you you get up? You make sure we're good. We
Yeah.
get everywhere we're supposed to be, but man, that's not what I want to do when I get older. And lo and behold.
There you are.
But I would
Would
say
you?
I definitely got a lot of my work ethic from both of them, 100%.
That's great. Are there any siblings?
Yeah, I have a brother, older brother, an older sister, and a younger sister.
So four. Okay. I,
Yeah,
I
there's
I'm just
four of us.
I'm curious, David, did any of them go sort of the entrepreneurial route or at all construction related? No,
Nope,
only you.
nope. One is well, two actually are in IT, and then one is stay at home mom. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm the only one.
So you were the only adventurous one.
Yeah, I was the only troublemaker. So
So you were moving all out around Northern Virginia. I assume you finished high school in Northern Virginia somewhere, right?
yeah, yeah. So when we moved to Loudoun County, we attended this school. It was kind of it's not private school in the sense everybody thinks, right? But it was a private school. It was like a church school. So I ended up graduating from there. Um, Played some sports a little bit, and with the sports came the scholarship opportunities. And I didn't have a whole lot because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go to college or whatnot. Um, but had the opportunity to play basketball, play football. Um, did not follow through with those opportunities, and decided to go into the army instead.
Oh wow. Okay. What
Yeah,
what made you decide to not go through those athletic opportunities and just go to the army instead?
truthfully, because I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do, right?
Okay.
And so then like my MOS in the military was like, you know, of course the recruiters pump your head up and they tell you how much money you can make, but it was basically, in the military intelligence field. So I was like, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna go through this and I'm gonna make a career out of it, and then I'm going to make a whole lot of money, and that's
Hmm.
kind of what I thought and what my plan was, but it's not what ended up happening.
Did you go into what branch? Army or
So
okay. All right.
yeah,
So you go into the army and you served there for how long?
4 years.
Okay. Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
What were you doing there during the 4 year there?
So I never deployed and went, overseas or anything of that nature. But so my MOS was what's called military ground station operator. So basically, we were like the eyes and the ears for the guys who were on the front lines, right? So we're, radar, comms, and things of that nature were a big part of what we did.
Were you traveling to different places or were you mostly stationed in one location?
Yeah, so I traveled. So my first basic was Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Fort Huachuca, Arizona was my AIT, and then Bragg and different other bases that were within the continental United States where I was stationed. So I never
Okay.
went, yeah, I never went out to Japan and a lot
Sure,
of other
abroad.
places,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. So during coming into your 4th year mark there, did you, I guess the original plan was to make it a career, a lifelong career. That obviously changed. So what were you thinking when that 4 year mark was coming?
I really wasn't sure still.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I didn't want to do, IT, and I didn't want to like go be a government contractor really.
Hmm.
So I started actually leaning back towards construction, my parents being a huge part of my life. Um, and, you know, it like I wanted to help my dad's company grow. That's
Hmm.
where it started. As I was like, man, I want to help my dad, help him grow his company. Just like I don't want to say out of the blue because like I'm my dad's junior, so I always want to see him succeed the same way he wants to see me succeed. And basically, I just got to a point where I would keep talking to him and say, hey, like, well, why don't you do this? Or, well, why don't you do it this way? And why don't you do it that way? And he's just very, very old school. No business
Hmm.
cards, no website, like everything's word of mouth, no advertising, any of that stuff. And I came with that part of it, like, well, let's get you a website. Let's do this. Let's do that. Right. And
Hmm.
so that was kind of my plan was to come out, and help him out with those things.
Sure. Around what year, what time is this as far as you're saying, hey dad, let me come into the business and help you out? And
2005, six, something of
okay.
that nature. Yeah.
So around that time, the residential real estate sector is it's still hot.
Yeah.
Everyone and their mother and grandmother are getting loans as long as you can fog a mirror. Um,
Yep.
yeah. So that was good timing almost, but then it sort of went off a cliff, right? As
Yeah.
far
Yeah.
as yeah,
Exactly.
residential.
Yeah. And I would say like for him, I worked with him for a while and, tried to help out, but I mean, we just were too much alike in some aspects, I guess. So we kind of
Hmm.
clashed, butted heads a little bit. Um, but at the end of the day, like I helped him as much as I could, and then I decided that hey, like I'm gonna make my own career within construction. And when I started doing that, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do for, I would say for probably a year to two or two, because I worked at a company, electrical contractor, um, and was in the apprenticeship program, and I did not want to do electrical. I
Hmm.
found that out after doing that for a few months. I said, no, this is not, my thing. And then, time progressed, and got a different position, and I started playing in the dirt again.
So when was it, I guess, that you sort of found your niche in construction that you're like, hey, you know what? I like this. I can do
I
this
would
side of the
say,
business.
yeah, sure. I think that was 2009. Yeah,
Okay.
right around 2009. So like, I remember the economy kind of going down in '08, and me saying, man, I got to pick something that is going to stay, like, regardless of the economy. And I remember talking to, I don't remember exactly who it was, but I remember conversation that, well, infrastructure is never going to go anywhere, right? Infrastructure is always going to be around. So I was like, huh. So then I just looked for a job within the infrastructure sector, right? And it happened to be underground utilities for me. And
Hmm.
I started out, um, working on a vac truck, which is, you've got a hose around you, and you're just sucking dirt out of the ground, right? You're blowing it with air, and sucking it up and identifying underground utilities. I knew not at all what an underground utility even was at that point, right? But very quickly, I definitely started understanding that and liking it.
Okay. So you were within company for a while in 2009.
For a couple years,
Okay.
2009 to 2011. Yep.
And
And then,
then
yeah,
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and then from there it was the hunger, right? So while I was at that company, um, do you mind if I use company names? I have no problem doing that.
Yeah, totally
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. So it was at Insight. I met Denny Showalter, and he's a great guy. Like, I still look up to him to this day. And I'm a big relationship guy, so I don't, burn bridges, and know people still to this day and communicate with people at each place I've worked. Um, but so with Denny, I mean, he was very, very instrumental and very, very helpful and very selfless in, making sure that I understood what I was doing, right? So I felt in my mind like I wasn't just another number, of people, of somebody who's going and making it money, somebody that he actually was like, okay, well, this guy can go somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, but then he had a manager whose name was Chavis Seibert, and he told me, he said, hey, look, if you really apply yourself and you understand this work, like, you can be making close to six figures, in 5 years. And so I really took that to heart, and I was making that I was making over that within like two.
Hmm.
So, so for me, it was just a thing of how bad do I want it?
Yeah,
Yep.
I
And
love
I'm
that.
I'm one of those guys that I want, if I want it bad enough, I'm gonna, go after it. So I really applied myself and kept moving.
What role were you doing then when you were able to accomplish that in the 2 years?
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, obviously I was a laborer before, and then I went to a supervisor slash foreman,
Hmm.
at Insight, and had my own truck and had guys working with me. And then from there was more in the ditch, in the trench, and was working, installing conduits and other pipes, um, in the trench. So, pipe layer, then foreman, right? It's the natural succession. I made that jump really quick, from pipe layer, foreman. And then I would say within a year after that, I was a superintendent already.
And that's when you hit that goal of that income.
Well, that's when I definitely hit that goal. And then from there, I mean, I would just say it went into hyperdrive, because as a superintendent, like, I always wondered what a project manager was or did, right?
Hmm.
And little did I know that as a superintendent, the way I worked, I was already doing project management things and didn't even know it. But I had a great PM that I was working with. I was the super out in the field, running things, and he was the PM. And, he really taught me a whole lot about, the different, the billings and, costs and tracking keeping your costs and keeping track of things and budgets and things of that nature. Another guy I still talk to this day. So his name's Kevin Toomey, and he's just really good. With what he does, and I, I wouldn't be where I am without some of these guys and gals that have just shown me things, and sometimes it's without them even knowing. They're just doing their job, and I'm like, man, because I observe a lot, and I can watch and listen, and then I'm gonna do what you're doing. Oh, I got the same result. Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm gonna start doing that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of times, David, is just that person that's actually willing to be a sponge and a student and actually learn, whether through osmosis, just by being there and just keeping your antennas, your ears up, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times people just might be just focused on this, but they don't see maybe the whole picture or open their eyes.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I love that you're sharing this just because just, in case someone's listening or watching and they're like, there's potential. There's a lot of potential in any industry, especially some of these blue collar industries, whether you're doing construction, whether you're a mechanic or HVAC or plumber, whatever it is. But I see a lot of young people are maybe, oh, tech or this, and nothing wrong with that, of course. But in these blue collar fields, let's call it, there's a humongous potential. And a lot of times, what I'm hearing also, dealing with clients that are in similar industries as yours, there's the people aren't coming in. The they're not getting a lot of people interested in being in this business.
Right. Yeah, that's very true too. Very true. And it's difficult sometimes to get people that want to come in and treat it seriously and not just as a job, but
Hmm.
look at it as a career where it can be life changing, life altering for you and your family. And, you know, um, for me, I would say that without, the generations of family, um, of mine that have been in this industry, right, in construction, that I probably wouldn't know half of the stuff I did, because there were times, as a foreman, that I would call my uncles, because for me, it's not just my dad that, is in this. Like my family, I have a cousin who has had a concrete construction company for years, ever since I can remember. Other uncles, my dad's brothers, that have done this for years. My dad's dad, right? He passed away on a construction site. Yeah. So, I mean, due to the site condition. Um, so there is a long a lineage of us who, it's kind of in our blood. But if
Hmm.
I wasn't ever around it, in the beginning, I would never would have even thought of having that to, quote unquote, fall back on. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So once you were in that superintendent role, and then you saw that a lot of things that you were doing was project managing, you decided to sort of shift there.
Yeah, so I had a review. I had one of my annual reviews at the same company, and my I worked directly under the division VP, and he asked me, in my review, he said, "What do you want to do?" Like he's like, "You can do whichever you want. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to you want to move, climb the ladder as a superintendent and be a general superintendent, or you want to be a project manager and climb that ladder?" And so then I literally, he was like, think about it for a couple of days and let me know. And I was like, yeah, I don't need to think about it. I think I want to be a PM, because I still want to know what, being a PM is.
Hmm.
Because you just hear manage projects, project manager, you manage project. Okay, what does that all entail?
Hmm.
Right. And that, when I made that decision, man, was awesome, because I got to see that the time in the field as a superintendent, foreman, pipe layer, all these different positions enabled me to be a better project manager. It enabled me to understand what I was talking about when I'm writing these things down. I'm talking about durations and how many feet a day and megalobes and manholes and all this different stuff. Oh, I knew what that stuff was already. I wasn't just coming
Hmm.
out of college, and trying to figure this stuff out. I had the experience already.
Yeah. You saw it, firsthand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So then you become a PM and you were in that role for a bit?
Yeah, I would say I was a PM for. Sorry, I'm doing my math here. So I would say for maybe 7 years, yeah, 6, 7 years,
Okay.
something like that. Um, and just between two different companies, and both in the utility construction industry, and um, I worked at Anchor Construction for almost 5 years. When I interviewed with Florentino Gregorio, the owner, the founder of Anchor, and the other executives, like I told him at this interview that one day I wanted to do this, right? Um, and I
Do
have the
this,
utmost
have your own company?
have my own company doing the same thing he's doing,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
and the fact that he literally put his arm around me and walked me out of the door, not like kick me out, but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he walked me out saying, "Hey, look, this is that's we really like you, blah blah blah. We'll be in touch." But I was like, man, it sounds like a cool company, because for me, like truthfully, when I went to that company, I took a pay cut. Um, but for me, like it was worth it because I saw the potential there, and I think they saw the potential in me also. Um, so fast forward, it was 4.5 years before I said, "Hey guys, like I'm putting my putting my notice in, my 1 month notice, and and I'm leaving." But during that 4.5 years, I had more conversations with Florentino. He told me something one time that I've actually had said to one of my employees, since is treat every project and every job that you're doing like the money's coming out of your pocket, and you'll be successful in business. And I took that to heart. I mean, I had projects that, nobody was standing over top of me telling me, go home and think about this project, or, go home and look at these drawings, or do this, that, and the other. But that's just the way I was and am, is that I was committed to it, right? I
Hmm.
wanted to see it succeed. And so from those years of experience in the field and project management, it just enabled me to build these relationships with different clients, um, and build relationships and network a whole lot, vendors, suppliers, and different people that just made it a much simpler transition to for me to go from being an employee to a business owner, or self employed. Because what I started out with when I did turn in my 1 month notice was consulting, right? So underground utilities, same stuff that I do. I would tell companies, hey, look, if you have a project, I can manage it for you. I'll take the underground utilities portion or the civil portion of the project, and I will be your civil construction manager for that. So my first project was a few $1 million project that I had a job site trailer out on military base, and was there every day managing that project from start to finish. And it was fun.
And that first project, David, came out through, I guess, pre-existing relationship you had already built in the industry.
Yes, two companies prior to before I left. Yeah, so um, not Anchor, but company before that I was at. One of their owners had left and started his own company, and he was, years ago, he had told me, "Hey, look, keep doing your thing. I know you want to start your own business. If the time is right, we'll make it happen. We can work together." And so, basically what happened is Bill Teague, he is he was the owner of Old Line Construction, and they had a project that is closer to where I was located, or I am located at Quantico Marine Corps Base, and there was a mile of water line to put in, a bunch of jack and bores, and a lot of fun stuff to deal with. And they needed an on-site, construction manager, super slash PM, and that was right up my alley. He knew it, I knew it, and that was just the door that was partially open. That he said, "Hey, man, you just need to push it the rest of the way open and get here and make this thing happen." So that was the start. That was my first contract. But I will tell you this: that I left Anchor Construction with a contract with them also. So when I told you in the beginning, I don't burn bridges. I
Hmm.
really mean that. I helped them close out some projects. Always I kept my Anchor phone and helped out when I could. I helped the new PM out, and just anything I can do to help. I mean, because that's what I pride myself in this type of work in this niche. Like I consider myself a problem solver, right?
Hmm.
So you don't know DC water, you don't know DDOT, you don't know Pepco, you don't know VDOT. I do, and I know what they're going to let us do, and I know what they're not going to let us do. So let me talk to them. I know those guys over there. Let me talk to them, and I'll let you know what we need to do. So that's kind of my claim to fame.
I love it, David. I love the part too that you knew a long time ago that you wanted to establish your own company. And it's almost like you were just strategically moving from one place to another and obviously helping the new organization you were joining as a team member, but also adding more arsenals to your tool belt, right? So when the time came from you and it was time to jump ship per se, the more you had around the tool belt, the better.
That's correct. Yeah, 100%. And I would say, I've told a lot of people this here in the past few years, but I started this company on paper 6 years before it actually materialized.
Really.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure did.
So what was it that how was the timing as far as you're like, this is the moment? You formed it 6 years ago, but what was it when you were with Anchor and you said, this is it, this is the time right now?
Well, so I would say this. Let me go through the timeline. February 28th, I believe, was my last day at Anchor, 2020. March 2nd, 2020 was the first day I started with this contract. Like everybody was telling me, even Florentino himself was said, "Hey, look, COVID had literally just hit. WHO had literally just said, "Hey, look, this is a pandemic." Blah blah blah. If you, Florentino said, "If you need to come back, the doors are open for you." And I really respect. I mean, I talk to him to this day. Like I really respect him for that. But for me, it was just a now or never. I mean, that's kind of what I looked at it as because I
Yeah.
felt like I had the contacts, I had the network, I had the ability to get the work, make sure that it gets done, make sure everybody's happy. Why would I not take this opportunity? Because the good thing about my first project was that I had already done work on that base before, so I knew the utilities guys. I, you know,
Hmm.
and I knew how they wanted to see things, and those different things. And I'd done projects with NavFact before, so dealing with them was not super difficult. It was pretty simple. I knew what they expected, and for me, it was like, all right, well, I can do this, and it gave me the opportunity to spread my wings. So yes, I got this one contract, but I can now seek other opportunities, right? And I don't
Hmm.
have that conflict of interest as if I was still an employee with a company doing the same stuff. Like I can't, obviously do that just ethically. Um, so yeah, just that opportunity um, to get out there and make it happen.
Sure. So once you had that first or second contract, pretty much it is snowball from there. Was it pretty easy as far as getting to business, or did it take some time to get the other ones to come in?
Um, so I would say not really take a bunch of time. I mean,
Hmm.
so for me, since I was that project, the Quantico lasted for about a year, right? So I mean, that was I probably got 5 or 6 contracts, maybe more, within that time frame, right?
Okay.
So, and what I did, since I was just a consultant, I didn't have any employees or anything like that. I was working out of my house. Was I had other small businesses that I knew that couldn't do what I could do as far as getting the work and things of that nature, and I partnered up with them, and I would get a contract, and hey guys, you wanna do this part, and you'll do this part, and my cousin who has a concrete construction business, he did the concrete and this, that, and the other, and I just basically was like a GC and oversaw everything and made sure that
Hmm.
it all got done correct.
Yeah, you
So
just
yeah,
have to work
that's
out.
how we, yeah, yeah, that's how
Yeah.
we started.
Oh, that's awesome. So it started with you and then you subbing to work out. How does Stocks GC look like today?
Oh boy. So today we look like 22 employees, I believe. 22, yep. And that number kind of fluctuates sometimes, but
Sure.
yeah, 22 employees. So we have four, crews, and we self-perform. I would say, I mean, 90 to 95% of the work that we do. Um, there are certain things that we don't do that we, deal with other vendors for. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've got uh, trucks, we've got, as you can see, we've got equipment, and we've got a
Yeah.
yard, and things of that nature. So um, the biggest thing now is keeping the guys busy and keeping that touch, that personal touch, I guess you could say, because a lot of people are used to dealing with me, and even though we have a project manager and a superintendent and an admin, a lot of times they still were. Where's David? I want to talk to David.
Of course.
Everybody's got my phone number, so hey, no problem. If you need to talk to me, I'm available. But yeah, definitely. We're just continuing growing and trying to grow smart.
That's great. David, what would you say drives and motivates you?
Ooh. So I would say my 3 kids and my wife. Definitely because they are. I had a great childhood. In that I had both of my parents, even though like so we didn't always live in the same house, right? But my parents were both in my life, and I had siblings, and we were in different homes at times as well. But for me, it's to maintain the strength of my family, and that drives and motivates me beyond words. Like I couldn't even fathom like how to put that into words, but just to keep my son and my 2 daughters happy, and my wife, because her job is harder than mine, staying home with those kids.
Hmm. How old are they?
So we've got 6, 9, and 13.
Oh, nice. 6, 9,
Yeah.
13. Okay.
Mhm. Yep. So one's getting ready to drive soon and thinks she can already.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And then,
Uh-huh.
I was going to say that, well, they're big sports players. So,
Okay.
I find myself after work being an Uber driver, but I don't get paid or tipped.
I know the feeling. I'm in the same boat, man. I have three boys. My oldest is 12, 13, 13 in July. So
Oh, okay.
12, 10, and 7.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's what I tell them. I'm just like a glorified Uber driver taking you
That's
to
it.
basketball practice or a game here or there or whatever.
Yep. That's it. That's it.
But it's the time. It's just the time you spend with them. That's what it is.
That's right. And I'll say one thing about that also is that the atmosphere that I try to create here at my company is I don't want to see people staying here till midnight working on something like get go home, be with your
Yeah.
family, relax. It can wait till tomorrow. Nobody ever pushed me to be like that, but I was like that. I was like that on my own, if that makes sense. Like I was so engrossed in my work that I was working at Anchor, and I remember there were nights where I would stay there till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, working on some just because I wanted to finish it. Right? Nobody
Yeah.
pushed me to do that, but like I do not allow my employees to do that. I say, hey guys,
Sure.
you got family. If you want to stay an hour, whatever, that's fine, but don't stay here late.
Yeah.
Enjoy your family and have a good family, work life balance is a huge thing nowadays.
It is perfect. And what I try to do too, just to spend more time with them, there's a routine, and especially with my two younger ones, when we put them down, and I'm like, okay, then I have to jump on and do some more work just to, do some things. And that's fine, but at least we get to spend
Yeah,
that evening and that time together.
that's right. Even
Yeah.
if it is just watching them at practice, right?
Yeah.
Driving.
Do they ever come on site for you with you?
So I have brought my son on site uh once or twice. I mean, obviously I don't have him around too much, but he's came into the yard and jumped on the excavator before and kind of played around with it. But most of the time during the day he's out, or excuse me, at school, or taking care of those other things.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, David. Maybe there's a fourth generation coming soon. Who knows?
Maybe,
Yeah.
but like you said earlier, a lot of what's talked about now is the YouTube, being a YouTuber or a streamer,
Oh gosh,
of
tell me
those.
about it.
And I'm like, hey, come on, guys, you don't want to, run a business like daddy? No, no, no.
Oh,
But I remember a time when I said the same thing, so I can't say anything.
it just reminds me sometimes when I'm walking my 7-year-old to school and we're walking together, and he's like, "Papa, I want to be a billionaire." I'm like, "You do it, okay? What are you thinking? Where? What are you gonna be doing? YouTube, like streamer." I'm like, "Okay, all right."
Ryan's reviews have messed that up for all parents, because that little guy is like, he's a millionaire
Oh
just
yeah,
off of reviewing the toys, right?
yeah.
So they see that and they're like, oh, boy.
I saw some article a while ago how him and his parents were pulling in, I think, multiple eight figures a year, just
Oh yeah,
with brand deals and everything and promoting. Yeah,
yep, yeah,
yeah,
100%.
yeah. It's crazy. Well, good for them. I mean, hey, more power to you if that's what you want.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. David, if someone's listening to this and they're like, hey, you know what? I want to have my own company, maybe in the construction field, maybe or maybe not. What
Mhm.
advice, what suggestions would you give that individual?
Uh, Learn your craft. I would say that's like the first thing. So if you have to work for somebody else for 15 years or 20 years to learn the craft, you got to do it. But if you really want to start your own business at some point in time, you have to make the choice, right? And you have to go out there and take the risk. That's the big thing is, you can't sit there and keep talking about how you want to do it. If you really want to do it, go do it. You have to do it. Put the things in place to be able to do that, of course. I mean, I would say a huge thing is relationships for me, because I did not, you know, like a lot of companies, I didn't go get a whole bunch of loans or get money from my family, like nothing. I got none of that. I started out doing it the way I was telling you, just consulting, and then getting the small projects, subbing them out, taking a little bit of profit that I may have made and putting that to the side so that, one day, machines, equipment, payroll, right? All these
Hmm.
different things that you have to take care of, they cost. And I had Bill Teague, who I mentioned before, told me years ago, he had said, you need a minimum of $250,000 to start your company. He had told me this now 7 years ago, but a long time ago he had told me that. And I mean, I kind of proved him to be wrong because I started with zero.
But that's such great advice, David. Learn your craft. I mean, and you're a prime example right there. I mean, I think you got into with your dad in '06, 2006, right?
Mhm.
And there you are. It wasn't until what, 16 years later? I'm sorry, 14 years later in 2020. Yeah. That you decided to sort of jump off the cliff and is like it was now or never to do your thing.
Yeah, and the thing about it is this is not at all what my dad, uncles, cousins, anybody else in my family does not do this. Nobody does, right? So I'm the only one who does underground utility construction, civil construction in this manner. They are all doing concrete, brick, and block, and those things. Which, for me, that got me started, right? I would say that because that understanding of those things, we just go deeper. I mean, that's that's essentially what it is.
I think that's a great slogan for a shirt or something. We can make something out of that.
Oh man,
That's a good
don't
one.
don't air don't air this yet. We got to think first.
Yeah. With your logo on it and bam, we
Yeah,
just go deeper or something.
there you go.
No, but it just speaks to me just because it takes time. You have to have patience to build that network to build a relationship. Um, it takes time. I just think about myself in my situation. I was in my former firm, doing commercial real estate for 13 years. And I've been in the industry, real estate and finance for almost 20. And it wasn't until this year in 2024 that I went off on my own per se and hung up my own shingle doing the same thing. But if it wasn't for those relationships that I've built and all of these 10, 15, 20 years doing it, I wouldn't have been able to sort of springboard off to a better start with zero contacts, right?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that is the so beyond learning your craft, that is number two, networking. Because I have been a networking. I mean, I literally have an album with the hashtag networking like a fool because I love it, right? And I've learned to love it. I've grown to love it because I told you that I worked for Anchor Construction. I met Florentino at one of the first events that I ever went to. It was a Nuka DC event, a baseball game. And that's where I met him and got his card to contact him to say, hey, can I interview with you guys? Several years
Mm-hmm.
later.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since then, like now I've been on the board for Washington Building Congress for, a couple of years. Just got appointed to the board for NUCA DC. And these are organizations that have been paramount in me helping grow my business because I meet people at these events, right? There's real synergy there, right? I see them all the time. And hey, let's go do this. Okay, well, you're going to this event. I'll see you there. And we just start talking shop. And then, you can try to fake all you want, like, your knowledge. But when somebody sees that you really know what you're talking about, and there's no faking that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't really get around that. And I think that's where um, I differ from a lot of other people and companies is that, we have the real knowledge, and have really done this and are really doing, these things. And the networking part of it, I mean, I've been to networking events, where I've talked about the benefits of networking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Frederick Regional Chamber of Commerce being one of them, and it has catapulted my business. Just talking to people and being myself.
Speaking of networking and networking groups or events, any tips or tricks if someone's listening to this, and as far as, some people might not be the biggest fan of going to some social event and they might not know anyone. Any suggestions as far as like the mindset you come in, whether you're an owner of a company or just an associate level and you have to do that?
Yeah, I would say so. When I started going, this was way before I started my company. Um, like your mind frame needs to go in there and be. yeah, I'm the guy nobody knows, but I'm going to change that, guy or gal, right?
Hmm.
Because that's what I did is I didn't know a lot of people, when I first started going to these events. But guess what? You meet them that first time, you guys are hanging out, you can't stand off in a corner and think everybody's gonna, just come over to you, right? You introduce yourself to people, you have your business card, tell them about what you do, this, that, and the other, and next thing you know, like the next time you're at that event, you have somebody there. You're not best friends yet, but you have somebody. Hey, how you been? It's been a while. Blah blah blah. And that is literally, it's like a snowball effect. After that, it's like, okay, there's the next one. Then they're emailing you or calling you and saying, hey, did you sign up for this event? This one's a real good one. I've been there before. No, I haven't signed up for it. I'm going to sign up for it now, right?
Hmm.
Um, for me, my wife was huge in the success of my business so far because for at least 2 years straight. I mean, I was events every week, So I'm not able to bring the kids to sports. She'd have to take on all that responsibility, but we were on the same page because she knew it was to grow the business. It's not just me going out and sipping a cold one.
Yeah. Did you make it a goal or anything like that? You would try to go to an event, maybe a new one at least once a week or every couple of weeks or month or quarter, whatever it may be?
Nah, because there were times I would go like 3 or 4 times a week, 3 or 4 different days. It was
Okay.
just more for me. It wasn't even like it, I don't want to say it became addictive, but it just became fun. Like I would go to different events, and then I started meeting, other people who were like, yeah, I don't know where to go. Oh man, you should come to the WBC event, or you should come to this ABC event. So I
Uh-huh.
became like an ambassador for these because of, for me, in my mind's eye, I'm a success story because of these events. So I would go to them all the time. Here recently, I haven't been able to go as much, but it's definitely something where I say, hey, if you can get out there, like if you want to be successful, you have to get out where the people who are, your clients, your partners and things of that nature are.
Yeah, I agree. It has to be the right event
Yeah,
completely. Yeah.
yeah.
Are there any specific habits or skills you feel you have that have helped you in business or even maybe just on the personal side of things?
Yeah, I would say response, right? So I'm not somebody who I I, I absolutely abhor having lots and lots of unread email. So so I am somebody who responds pretty quick, right? So that doesn't mean, if you email me, I respond, right away. But I try to respond within a reasonable amount of time, right? And what I do is I'll go through my email, and if there's something I need to come back to, I'll leave it unread, right? So that, okay, that's from this person. I'm going to come back to that, right? Because I know it's important. I need to come back to it. And then other than that, I would say just, I don't even know if you call it motivation, drive, ambition, what, but for me, it's just I I I, I eat, breathe, sleep, just trying to be successful. Um, they're beyond our construction company. In 2020, we also started a real estate investment company, myself and my wife, and several other, smaller companies as well since then. And I'm always, you know, thinking about the best thing that we can do in this situation or that situation, and there's other investments that we're now involved with in other companies and things of that nature. So there's always something to keep thinking about and keep striving for, I would say, because um, somebody asked me how big did I want my company to be, and I said, mm, how high up does the sky go? I mean, that's kind of really how I think about it. I don't have like a cap, of
Yeah, yeah.
we want to be $1 billion a year company. Nah, 100 billion might be fine. Nah, maybe not. Maybe a trillion, right? You know what I mean? That's kind of my mind frame. And my mindset is I don't really put a cap on something like that.
That's great. I didn't know you were in real estate as well. What do you like to invest in?
So what we've been doing for the past few years is raw land. So we've got acres, lots of acres all over the country, and that's kind of our thing right now. But we're moving into some single family homes here soon.
Nice. I assume where you're standing, is that also your land?
Actually, no, this is
Oh,
not.
okay.
But a few miles down the street, we did purchase last year 200 plus acres.
Oh,
So
nice.
there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen in the future there. Um, so yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on. We bought some other land and other states, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of future plans. But one thing I've learned to do also is to baby step certain things, right? So you don't have to go buy the 200 acres and put 50 buildings up right away, right? You can buy the land, relax, sit on it, wait till the right time, and then, if you, whatever we're going to do, put a new office, because our plans are to put a new office, on, that land, that piece of land, amongst other things.
Sure. That's nice. David, from a marketing standpoint, what would you say brings in the most traffic for the business?
Oh, boy. I always wonder that myself, to tell you the truth. No, I would say realistically, there's a big word of mouth element. There is a um, LinkedIn. LinkedIn, like I don't pay for this crazy subscription and all these advertisements, all that stuff. But you can go on our business page, the company page, and we post pictures of the different projects that we are working on or have been working on, and I get so many um, inboxes from from different executive levels at different companies, GCs, and things of that nature that say, "Hey, looks like you guys are busy. I got a couple projects I want you to take a look at. Can you? I'm going to email them over to you." And a lot of that has happened from there. And I've had people who would inbox me and said, "Hey, I've been watching you," and I'm like, "Ooh, serious?" But they've said, "Hey, look, I've been watching you since you left. I saw you make the transition. You look like you're doing good. Like, I think we could, work together." And and some of those are people that I like dealt with when I was, working at other companies,
Sure.
and, they've just kind of, we were great we had great energy and synergy when we worked together back then on different projects. And, the thought of us moving forward and still being able to solve their problem is, something that I think attracts a lot of people, and then it attracts me back, right? It makes me say, "Yeah, let's talk." You
Yeah.
know.
That's great. So this is just only off of the company LinkedIn page. It's not even your own personal page in LinkedIn, but the company's.
So I would say both. I mean,
Okay.
I don't really track the metrics like I know a lot of people do. Like I just know that most of the time when something is posted to the company page,
You
whether
share
myself or
it.
my admin posts it, yep, I share it, and then like I'm getting a personal inbox,
Sure.
right, on my
Okay.
personal page, right? Or I might get an email, or I might get a phone call. Oh, I saw you doing this, that, and the other, and that I would say beyond like our website or any type of, we don't really do any advertising per se. I would say it's just we're showing you what we do, right?
Would you say, David, LinkedIn is number one, or would you say networking events and networking is number one or two? How does that
So
stack up?
I would, I like the way you put that. So at first, networking was number one. And
Okay.
that segued into LinkedIn because now it has been more LinkedIn
Sure.
than it has been networking. But at first, it was definitely the networking portion, like, just knowing the people. But now they see, okay, well, this is work he's doing. Oh, they're working on this project. Wow. And then they say, we have one similar, and, then we go from there. So now it's definitely LinkedIn.
That's great. Coming to an end here soon, what would
Yes,
you
sir.
say is your biggest challenge at Stocks GC today?
I would say truthfully is making sure that I'm picking the right clients because there are projects that we've done and clients that we've worked with that have call there've been issues, right? And I'm never somebody who blames somebody else for everything, right? I mean, I believe in extreme ownership, and if I have a part in it that where I was wrong or I screwed up or my guys didn't do this correctly, it's my fault, right? I own the company. Maybe I didn't get them trained correctly. I didn't make sure that they had the material there on time, whatever it is, right? But I would say that one of the biggest things is just the client, like choosing the clients, because um, there's some that you know that can really mess up your business if you don't choose the right ones, right? Because
Hmm.
just because you have this project or this company has this project or they want you to bid on it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, that's so true. What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your business career?
Ooh, well, hmm, what I wish I would have known at the start. So now you mean the start of me having my business, or just
Or just in general, it can be your own business or just overall your whole career.
how expensive everything is? How expensive it is to run a business. Um, I think back to what Bill Teague said, years ago, it takes a lot of resources,
Yeah.
right? And I think sometimes, uh, as having been a former employee, like as an employee, you kind of lose sight of that sometimes, and you just think, oh well, I broke this, um, I broke this, you know, $100,000 machine, and oh yeah, well they'll just get a new window. Oh, they'll just get a new like no, but that's $1,000, and
Hmm.
and you keep doing things like that that affects the whole company. So those type of things that I never really thought of a whole lot because I didn't own a company. It was you know I would get a little bit upset about it, and then I would say, hey, Mr. VP boss, like this is what this guy did, we got to pay for it. Now I'm the guy who has to make sure that, or that we pay for it. And I say it's a huge thing because you got to make sure you have a good windfall. And by those resources, I mean, capital where you have the ability to, when a client potentially, doesn't pay you quick enough, you still have to make payroll. You still
Hmm.
have to pay your vendors. You still have to, keep everything going. You have to keep the grease on the machine, or everything comes to a grinding halt, right? And then
Yeah.
you're in a lot of hot water.
Yeah, that's so true. David, what does the future look like for you and the business the next couple of years?
Oh boy. So I would say realistically, it looks like you know, next 2 to 3 years. Um I wouldn't say I want to double the size of it, that quick. I mean, we made a really big leap from 22 to 23. I mean, I think we increased our revenue by um, 300 and something percent, right? Yeah, and so which was okay because we went also from a couple of employees to 20 employees. Um, so the revenue came, the cost came as well, right? And we had certain things in place that would help us out, right? So it's not like we just got a $2 million project and we're like, oh man, how are we going to make payroll? We knew that we had costs and everything like that, so we tried to make sure we had those things covered. So I would say realistically, it's just smart, steady growth, right? I don't want to go like this because then you go like that, right?
Hmm.
Roller coaster. I want to smart, steady growth. Just keep growing. Um, Having the right people on the team is a huge part of that. We brought in here recently a couple heavy hitters that, I mean, literally, one guy came, our new PM, great asset. He came from Canada, so and yeah, worked with us full time, and is a great asset. Really helpful. Has knowledge on different levels, right? So I'm used to the 10 projects at a time, right? I can, here's, half a million here, a million, 200,000, 100,000, blah, I can juggle that, right? Because
Hmm.
in my head, I'm just weird like that. I remember every project. I can remember the drawings. I remember where the pipe goes, where the manholes are for 10. I can do that for 10
Hmm.
projects. But looking ahead, we're now going to be looking to bid some more public projects. Um, some VDOT projects. And we have been, talking with DC Water for years. I mean, they're great to work for, since we've been a sub, right? But they are looking to try to have some of their the sub prime some projects, some of the DBEs and whatnot. And, we're a DBE and, have the certs, but I don't lean on those. I lean on the relationships and what's the value of the project. And by value, I don't mean the financial value. I mean, like, what's the project for? Is this okay? We'll run a new water main for a new utility, or excuse me, for a new community that's coming in. Okay, cool. That sounds like something we'd want to be a part of, you know. Um, and so that's kind of what we're looking ahead and looking forward to. Looking at a little bit bigger projects. We still take on the small ones, because that's how we got started. But looking ahead and looking forward to increasing the size of the projects that we go after.
That's great. I know you're a busy person. When you're not busy operating the business and being an Uber driver for the family and the kids, what do you like to do for fun in your free time?
Okay, well, until May 18th or May 19th, it's go turkey hunt. So go sit on that 200 acres and wait for
Okay.
those turkeys to gobble.
Yeah.
So no, I like the outdoors. I like to hunt. I like to shoot. That's actually one of our businesses. And my kids like it too. Um, and I would say that's one of the best things is just to kind of get out in the woods, um, and enjoy nature, like the sounds, the fresh, clean air, and things like that is a huge thing for us.
Yeah. And it's quality time with them too.
Oh yeah, yep. Let them
Yeah.
run around in the woods and get the scrapes and the cuts and the bruises, and check everybody for ticks afterwards, and keep going on.
Yeah, that's great. David, if people want to reach out to learn more about you and Stocks General Contractors, where can they go to, please?
Yeah, sure. So our website is stocks, stocks, gc.com. And yeah, there's all types of, our email addresses on there, info@stocksgc.com, and our office phone number, 540-329-9093. All that information's on there. And yeah, I'm always open for questions or suggestions, because out of the mouth of babes, it doesn't matter who it is or what you know. If you've got a suggestion that'll help us out, man, thank you. Right?
David, thank you so much for taking the time on and being on the show with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.